Hi, my name is Howard, and welcome to Howard and Code, a channel to help you and me learn and thrive in software development. I'm filming this right at the end of 2025, the year end, which is typically a good time for reflection and plans for the year ahead. Your company may be supportive of your learning goals, or it may not, but most developers would agree that over a given span of time, we got distracted by our genuine right now pressures of work and did not spend the consistent and regular time to progress yours and my personal goals. I used to train as a classical musician, and the one thing that's remained with me from that time is the enormous amount, not just of learning material, but different types of learning experience that you encounter in your journey of technical and psychological and performance improvement. There are obviously books filled with increasingly harder and harder bits of work music to play, but there are also things like the routine of weekly rehearsals, playing in orchestras, small ensembles, and the unique technical and psychological challenges of solo or at least highly prominent performance. There are exercises like scales and arpeggios, sight reading, which is a piece of music that you've never played before, that you're given a few moments to digest and study before you have to jump in and perform it. Etude, which are pieces that were composed specifically to aid students to develop and retain particular kinds of technique. There's improvising and also composition, if depending upon your exam board. Possibly the most useful and also traumatic form of learning was the masterclass, when you and others would perform a piece of music before a small audience that included a distinguished professional players of your own chosen instrument or vocal style who would listen and then directly offer you critiques, opinions to you and everyone else who was in the room, their thoughts, their suggestions, and practical tips to help you improve your performance technique. Really game changing, but genuinely a tad terrifying, especially if you were the first one of the morning. Um, as a software developer, there are also a lot of soft skills that you need to grasp, like communication, persuasion, managing other people, being interviewed, interviewing people, conflict de-escalation, and others, which are often not consciously acquired. But if you've got these skills, it can make your professional life 100 times more enjoyable and productive. Now, in comparison with music, software development has a number of obvious and less obvious analogs to those like different learning forms. There's writing different sorts of apps, learning different programming languages, code jams, programming against like fixed and limited time constraints. There's contributing to open source software, implementing algorithms and data structures just to learn. Learning and using design patterns, doing courses and certifications, developing those soft skills and social scripts for the more foreseeable situations a software developer will find themselves in. So I wanted to create this channel where I could sketch out a number of different learning journeys and different ideas that you can use to put your career goals on track and to keep them on track. So the most important thing, have a plan, and if you haven't, then start a plan. And yes, it's okay if the first thing on that plan is to come up with a slightly more detailed plan. Um, so some of those topics I've listed already, pick some out and write them down and put some detail against them. Also, since it's at the time of the year when we are often setting targets for the year, it's good to approach your manager and get some key questions answered. So, how do I progress in my career from where it currently is? What behaviours, what evidences, what project deliverables are you and the other management team looking for from me so that you can easily make a case for either my promotion or a nice pay rise? Seriously, it's not unreasonable to ask these questions. Um, and it's not unreasonable to expect, a fairly detailed answer. Not immediately. If you've not prepped your manager for this, it can be a bit of a shock. But give them some time to come up with some of that detail that you're looking for that you can discuss together and agree. Um, if you feel that all of that's a little bit too direct, maybe couch the conversation in terms of things like, how can I ensure that my work and the training I do is aligned with the vision and the objectives of the company? That's a more kind of businessy way to say it if you don't want to be so direct. Um, and yes, for me, creating a YouTube channel is part of my personal professional development plan for some fairly obvious reasons and for some maybe less obvious reasons. So So for the content for today, apart from the make a plan, talk to your boss, write it down kind of stuff, is just a couple of like behaviors which I think are really, really useful. To be kind and to be curious. So being kind, there's three main groups of people that you can easily be kind to. There's your juniors, your peers, and your managers. So juniors, just keep an eye out for them, help them, explain stuff, and just be there to kind of gently remind them that they have career goals, and just help them keep on track with that. Your peers, just be aware when they're kind of jammed up and super busy. Give them a shoulder to cry on, an ear to listen to their gripes, because you got them, they've got them. It's reasonable to be there for your colleagues. And also, if things are busy for somebody, then maybe take some of their pull request backlog off them so that they can kind of focus on what's important to them. And thirdly, and perhaps most importantly, your managers. So how can you be kind to your managers? Well, I think a key thing is that when there's a problem, try and think up three different solutions and then come to them with all three. Like, I know it's super tempting when there's a situation to like seize on it as an opportunity to do something you've always wanted to do. Maybe program something in Rust for super high performance, or just write something in F# because, hey, that seems cool. But in all fairness, it's best to think of three different solutions. Maybe the one that you want to do, maybe one that's a little bit quick and dirty, and maybe and a third one that's maybe a halfway house between like quality and speed of delivery, and just let them make that choice. Let them pick the right solution for the task, because one of the things that managers do is they kind of insulate you from all of the other competing business pressures. And so it's only fair to let them have the opportunity to pick the appropriate sized solution to the problem that you've identified. Being curious. I'm currently in a fully remote role, but in the early days of my career, that wasn't the case. I'd be in brick and mortar buildings, and so you'd very frequently walk upstairs, downstairs, into another department, and just ask diplomatically, like, what do you guys do? Why does that matter? And is there anything about your job that really isn't working for you? And you'd be amazed how many times you'd be able to think of some kind of small tech fix that would really help them out, that would really help make people more productive, drive some better sales, stuff like that. And sometimes, if there was no tech fix to find, you would just come away with a more holistic view of what it is your company does. And that's really, really valuable. Can't stress that too much. You really do need to know what it is your company does and why it matters. Sometimes, you just find out which departments have the best biscuits, but I like to think that all knowledge is useful somewhat. So be kind, be curious, and enjoy the journey. See you soon.